Okay, everybody, we're getting started right away. Matt here in Aurora. Having some stuff on. Tonight, our main Adrian isn't around here tonight, but if you want, join the ETH Discord if you haven't already. Get you stay informed on all the things, and yeah, that's kind of the stuff there. And the meetup, of course, meetup.com. If you haven't done that already, I'm guessing you have as you're here, but if you haven't, check that out. So, anyways, let's take it from there.
All right, thanks, Kendall. Hey, everybody. So my name is Matt Lockheer. I'm with a group actually called Proximity Labs. So I used to be with Near for about just about 2 years, just under 2 years. And obviously a project that came out of Near was the Aurora project, which is the EVM on Near. So we're going to talk about those two projects. I'll learn a little bit about myself and Proximity Labs. But before we get into anything, gotta say it, none of this, financial advice, blah, 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 do your own research. So yeah, I'm not here to tell you like what tokens to invest in or get into like some tribal maxi warfare. I'm just here to tell you about Near and Aurora, and if that's cool with you, then you can choose to do whatever you want with those projects. So yeah, the agenda, Proximity and myself, just very briefly because it's not super important, and I'm sure most people came here for some background and information about Near and Aurora. And then I'm going to talk about Aurora as a user, and then how you would deploy smart contracts on Aurora and the tools you would use. And then, if you guys want, I have a lot of supplementary material about the general Near ecosystem, which of course includes a lot of Aurora stats and metrics and all sorts of other stuff. But I think what we'll do is after number 5, after we've sort of introduced Near and Aurora, we can like break, do a Q&A for a bit, and then if you guys want to see some more stuff, we can go into that. So it should only take like 15 minutes or so, and then we can do a Q&A, and then we can talk a little bit more. So yeah, Proximity is basically a spin-out from Near. So what is a spin-out? So Near started back in 2018. It was a little bit of research and development, then it launched its mainnet in 2020. And then around 2021, a lot of people who were sort of with the Near team from back in the day decided to found startups on Near because mainnet was up and running. So they said, hey, I want to go out and I want to do my own thing. Specifically some things that the Near Foundation can't do, which is basically like a lot of cutting edge stuff in the crypto space, which of course is a little bit edgy, right? So Proximity Labs was basically founded to be a research and development firm that works with DeFi projects that are building on Near and Aurora. So just like very broadly, some of the stuff that we do is like we help you with your strategy. So whether that's the business strategy or the technology strategy, and this is again all DeFi. So we help you find gaps in the Near DeFi ecosystem, and we basically say, hey, we think this kind of a DEX needs to be built, or this kind of a thing needs to be built. Are you interested in that? We talk to founders. We kind of work that out with them. So basically figuring out like what's a good thing to do in the market. On the technology side, some of the people that I work with on the Proximity team are basically like the people that created the Near virtual machine. So there's a Near, I'll get into all this later, but there's a Near virtual machine, kind of like the Ethereum virtual machine, which basically goes through the smart contracts and does all the accounts and balances and moves bits and bytes around. And basically some of the guys that work on the team, they built that. So that's a pretty good technical advisory team, right? So it's a cool team. It's I'm still learning a lot every day from those people. And then on growth, team and community growth, like we are kind of connected to a lot of the talent in the Near ecosystem, or just in general, like a lot of like Rust developers. Near is kind of mostly all built on Rust, like through and through. And then community, we can help you kind of grow your community and introduce you to kind of all the kind of influencers in the Near ecosystem. Capital-wise, like investments and stuff, we can advise and we can help you build your network there. So that's Proximity Labs. So let's talk about Near. And so it's kind of like its history user experience, technology, and then basically here it's kind of like resources and just sort of stuff. And this I can go in, this is like ecosystem, I can go into detail later. But really briefly, let's just go over NEAR, because it's just important to know at a high level that Aurora is sitting on top of NEAR. It's not its own separate network. So I'll explain the relationship in a moment, but let's just talk about the background of NEAR. So it started in 2018 by Alex Skidanoff and Ilya Polishkin. Alex was ex-Microsoft and lead engineer at what used to be called, it's called Single Store now. I don't know what it used to be called, I forgot. But basically it's like a big database company. So he was like the lead engineer there, and Ilya came from Google and he was like an AI ML guy. So these are like kind of like brains, right? So they basically decided that they wanted to do AI, but like democratized AI. And the only way to do that, like to have a marketplace of AI machine learning models, was to involve crypto at some point. Then they started looking into crypto and blockchain and realized, oh man, none of this stuff is going to work for any of these, like this AI, ML, like learning marketplace. So they basically decided to start NEAR, and that's how it all got going. The first domain that they ever had was near.ai, which is kind of funny. So then there was like a research and development phase, and then the mainnet launched in October 2020. I joined in February 2020, like unofficially, and then officially I kind of like had a contract that started in May 1st, 2020. So basically, I'll talk a little bit about myself. Like I was on the wallet team, so I built like some of the staking stuff into the wallet, and then I worked on a multi-sig contract, which is basically NEAR has a web wallet, and obviously like a web wallet isn't super secure, so you need like a second factor. So basically, I worked on a multi-signature contract that's on chain, and then the second factor, of course, is like you signing a text message or like putting in a code from an email or something. And so I kind of like worked with kind of building all of that. So that was really fun. And then, I mentioned staking. And then I joined the developer relations team. So basically we were building out all the smart contracts post mainnet. So early 2021, we were building out NFT fungible token contracts, and royalties and stuff. So all the standards that are now in the NEAR ecosystem and sort of power most of the dApps on NEAR. And now there's like 500 plus, so getting into like today, 1 million in 2021. So we hit 1 million accounts in 2021 after mainnet. I can't remember when. And then we hit 10 million just recently, 10 million accounts created or whatever. So that's pretty cool. And then there's 500 plus apps now that are buzzing around across NEAR and Aurora. And then there's the Aurora EVM, which is like a big launch. So that was really cool. And we'll dive into that a little bit later. The Rainbow Bridge from Ethereum to NEAR. So it's basically Ethereum to NEAR or Ethereum directly into Aurora. And then also between NEAR and Aurora, which is really kind of simple, but it works really well, and it's super fast, so that's nice because they're basically running on the same blockchain. And then these are like the latest stats that I could find. There's 465 million total value locked. I think that's just, it's either NEAR or NEAR and Aurora. I don't know. You guys can go to like DeFi Llama or something, figure it out. Tell me where I'm wrong. But I know that I saw this the other day, which was kind of interesting. There's about 50K volume for 24 hours for NFTs on NEAR, which is kind of cool. NEAR's got kind of like a really small, eclectic, like kind of burgeoning like NFT ecosystem. They're pretty rabid. The value isn't super high. Like there's no like multi-million-dollar NFTs on NEAR, but there's a lot of volume, and it's like, and the people are pretty into it. So the account model is different. So it's definitely not like a UTXO model from like Bitcoin. It's an account model. There are names. there's multiple keys per account. This like trips a lot of people up and trips a lot of people out because it's kind of cool. So I can have an account like matt.near, and then I can actually have many different keys on my account. So it's not like an Ethereum model where it's like one key pair, one account. Like your private key maps directly one-to-one to some 0x blah, 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 blah. Instead with Near, it's like matt.near, and you can add or remove keys just like at will, right? It's all built into the core protocol. So you could think of this, if you're from the Ethereum world, you can think of this as sort of having human readable names. So, names like matt.near or, like laura.near. And you can basically also have multiple keys and like recovery options and all sorts of like fancy like social recovery, and like my friends can help me recover my account. You can do all of this stuff in the core protocol. So it's like having ENS, the Ethereum naming service, and Gnosis Safe, but just built into the core protocol. So you don't have to like run around and like figure out how those projects work. Which I kind of like as a developer. By the way, my background's as a developer, so I didn't cover that. But I think I told you guys I worked on the wallet and stuff. There's a web wallet, there's also extension wallets, there's also mobile wallets. There's a cool thing called batch transactions, so you can do, I glossed over this, access keys. So when you go to an app, you can actually sign into an app, which means that you can add a key to your account and then give that app's front end the private key, and that key can have a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit of allowance to call only contract methods. So it doesn't mean that app can like take the allowance of Near and like run away with it. It just means that they can call contract methods, and you can actually scope the access key to only calling certain methods in certain contracts. And you, as a user, agree to all of this in the Near wallet, and you can expand like what you're signing and see, okay, I'm adding an access key. It's to, what's your name? Kazu? Okay. Is it Kazu?
Yes.
Okay. So you're like, I'm in Kazu's app.near, I'm signing a transaction to add an access key, and he wants me to like shake my butt. And that's a special contract method. And he's saying, I want 0.2 near for you to call the method shake my butt in this contract. And so that's what you would sign. You would add that access key, and then probably Kazu's app would basically have the private key to that and would just keep ripping these shake my butt transactions. And so you as a user can just keep clicking a button, and you don't have to go back to your wallet to sign a transaction. So that's kind of cool, right? Like you could think of an example of like rolling a dice, or playing a hand in like a poker game or something. Like you just want to play, you don't want to keep going and signing transactions. So this is where this idea came from of access keys. Batch transactions, you can basically like batch up a bunch of stuff that you want to do, and you can execute multiple actions per transaction. Kind of cool, a little bit technical, but it's really cool. And then the most important thing is that they really strive to make it feel like Web 2. So I know like my first experience when I was using Near on a more kind of habitual, regular basis, I kind of just described it to people as, well, it's not as fast as using like Instagram or like chatting with a friend, on like a messaging service, but it does kind of feel like you're buying like airline tickets, because it's really actually pretty fast. It's like 1 second blocks. So you basically like go to the website, you sign the transaction, kind of spins for a little bit, and then you're back on the page, or the page refreshes, and boom, the stuff has been done, right? So it's kind of like buying an airline ticket or making an online purchase. It's pretty quick, so it does kind of feel like Web 2. So it's Rust-based, 1 second blocks, 2 second finality. That's actually pretty important. If you guys are comparing Near to like any other blockchain, look for how they actually establish what is final. A lot of people talk about, Bitcoin, you gotta wait X amount of blocks. Ethereum, you gotta wait X amount of blocks. The same is true for Near, but you only have to wait for 2 blocks, which is actually kind of interesting. And it's like built into how they design the protocol. It's WASM-based smart contracts, which means just WebAssembly. A little too nerdy. But we can talk about it later if you guys want to ask questions. Sharded state, so this is really important. So also again, when you're kind of like looking at other blockchains, they may say they're sharded, but see if they've actually solved sharded state, which means like, as a developer, I can basically send tokens from like an account on one shard to an account on another shard. That's actually it's quite a hat trick, like it's like super magic. So it's pretty cool, so they have that running. Dynamic sharding, resharding, whatever you want to call it, is basically shards can kind of like grow and like spin up and spin down as needed. They haven't turned it on yet, as far as I know, but it's in the design, it's on the roadmap. That's about the only thing they haven't really turned on yet. It's low cost, low barrier to entry in terms of development and just getting on board. I'll let you guys kind of rip into this later, or we can talk about it, because that took longer than I thought. Okay, so Aurora. So you can see Aurora right away. It inherits a lot of this stuff from the near slide, right? 1 second block time, 2 second finality, low cost, and there's the bridge, the Rainbow Bridge. The same team, so the Rainbow Bridge from Ethereum to Near was actually set up before Aurora was really officially launched. So it's the same team that built Near's bridge actually built Aurora as well. And then just like I myself am part of Proximity Labs, and we are sort of working with DeFi projects on Near, Aurora used to be inside of Near, and then they spun out, and now they're completely on their own. They're like their own entity. So they do all the Aurora stuff, aurora.dev.